Okay, I thought maybe you guys could start by telling the story of Shareable and the story of OuiShare and how you guys are connected and what the love affair is all about.
Shareable for me, I mean, I'm a co-founder, so there are other stakeholders involved. But the journey for me started in 2004. I left the corporate world and wanted to create a life and a career around sharing, and knew I couldn't do that alone. So I looked for the others. And at the time, I was living in San Francisco, and I started a salon with some friends called the Abundance League, and it was a gift circle plus a speaker every month, once a month, and I did it for 5 years, and it just completely changed my life and showed me a different form of wealth, not money, but relationships, and how that was so empowering and how it made so much possible. And from that network that I created with my friends, it ended up being a few hundred people, but people that really understood what it was sort of like purpose networking. We were connected based on purpose, and so from that, Shareable, from my perspective, emerged and helped me connect with people who wanted to start a sharing movement, right? And part of me helping kick this off was to do the research, and when I did the research and really dove in, this is like fast forward to 2008, and what the conclusion of the research was just like, we don't need to start a movement. One is about to break open like big time, and no one sees what's coming, and no one's connecting the dots between the various streams of something that's, I think, has a sort of thread through it called, that's sharing, collaboration, co-production. So yeah, and so we launched Shareable in 2009 with the idea to really spotlight that and connect the dots. And also kind of as an invitation, like who wants to play? It was always our intention from the beginning is to be movement building and convene and bring people together, right? And so that's how it got started.
And OuiShare, how OuiShare, a French version of Shareable, and it didn't work for some reasons, and that's why we decided to launch our own brand in a way. So it started like very informally in a group, and then our first project was to launch an online magazine dedicated to the sharing economy, and that's how basically everything started. So we were like a group of 10, 20 people at that time. We founded the non-profit with 4 co-founders, so Benjamin, Flore, and Edwin. And basically, we grew over time by staying true to our core values, like permanent beta. So the idea is to really reinvent the project over time. And now the biggest project we have, our biggest realization is achievement is OuiShare Fest.
And have there been other collaborations other than the not so successful French version of Shareable?
Well, I would say that I wouldn't characterize it as a failure. Like for me, like this is a huge success, and taken an idea and localized it and done it in a way that if we had decided to collaborate formally and had one organization, this would have been something different and maybe not as successful as the way that we've grown independently yet connected. Right, and I think that in the age of communities, this is I think an important idea. As individuals, we're independent and connected, and communities are independent and connected. Yeah.
You guys are master community builders, I think, and networkers. Do you have any sort of general tips? We're here to build community.
Yeah, I'll just start with like because of this my experience with Shareable. The power of putting a stake in the ground and saying, this is what I'm about, this is what we're about, and when you do that, you can attract people, and the people show up and they want to help. They got their tool belt on and they want to make it with you. Mentally speaking, they have the tool belt on, right? And so, like if you have a dream about something, if there's something that you're passionate about, and you're like, well, I'm not really sure, people are going to think it's weird, I don't know, just do it. And you know, think of it as an experiment. Like, okay, I don't know how this is going to turn out, but I'm really passionate about it, and I bet I'm not alone. Boom, put the stake in the ground and see what happens.
Yeah, I agree. I think passion is everything. So if you start anything, if you like the most difficult thing for me is to find your passion. If you can find your passion, then it's so easy to build a group of people, because you just have to show your passion, and people want to, you know, be friends with people who are passionate, because it resonates to them. And then, so that's for me the most important part. And then I really think that it's important to show that the community is growing, because I also think that people want to be part of something that is growing and gaining momentum. So in the very early days of OuiShare, it was really important to show that we had new people joining the community. We were organizing more and more events so that people wanted to come on board. And then I think what the job system now is really bad at achieving is to bring meaning and the ability to learn over time in the job market. So like now companies are quite kind of bad at achieving this. And in really at the core of OuiShare is the ability for people who get involved to learn new skills. So like that's why it was really important for us to have a diversity of people with a diversity of skills, so that you can learn from them and learn over time, and also the ability to be independent. So for example, the idea of connectors is that you're going to be the connector of your city. So connector of Barcelona, you're independent, you can do whatever you want in Barcelona if you respect the set of rules we gave to the organization. And I think really people want to be empowered. They want to be they want to choose what they're going to do every day. And we're providing this. We're providing a brand that means a set of values, and that means a vision for the future. And then if you're a OuiShare connector, and if you want to open a new city, it's open to you, and just do it.
I noticed neither of you mentioned your incredible good looks as part of the network building. No? Okay.
You too.
Are you flirting?
So,
you're cute too. I'm taken, however.
So are there differences, you think, in community building in the US versus in Europe, which is where OuiShare, I guess, started?
Yeah, I think yeah, just to touch on something, though, about, you know, collaboration in the age of communities is you know, the sort of relationship that OuiShare and Shareable has. It's evolving, but the cool thing is that we're in dialogue constantly, and we weave in, like they join our editorial calls, like a couple people for OuiShare, so they know what's going on, and if we're doing a major initiative, they're one of the first people that we get on the Skype with and share what we're doing, and so our plans are built around what our partners are doing, and powered by the connections with our partners. And it is also about personal relationships that, you know, Antonin and I, we invested in, we went drinking together, okay? Stuff like that, you know. We've had fun together, right? And that's super important.
And also that I think in the future there might be many ways to collaborate, also because OuiShare in a way is moving from a very informal organization, very open, where lots of projects were popping up, where we organized a tour in Latin America, a tour elsewhere in Europe, and now we're going to be more structured with also more with a budget, with like a funding for a non-profit, and so in a way the organization will change slightly, and also I think it's going to be easier for friends to collaborate with us, because sometimes, you know, it might be hard to understand what OuiShare is all about, because there are so many projects coming from the community, and I think it's time for us to be slightly more structured in the way we envision the future.
So up until now, OuiShare has been powered on love. And Shareable, is Shareable also sustained by love? Or can you guys talk a little bit about how these organizations actually manage to keep the doors open?
Yeah, so I told a little bit about how Shareable got started, and that was from my perspective, but also, through the work that I was doing locally in San Francisco, I got connected to people outside of San Francisco that were interested in doing a similar thing that I was doing. So the beginning was me, a group called Free Range Graphics, and the Shift Foundation. There's a family foundation in Florida, also a consultant, Will Watman, and that was the kind of brain trust that developed the initial ideas and got it off the ground. And we've had, the Shift Foundation has been fantastic. Though the intention is to power Shareable, but by not only love, but by the support and hard work of our readers and community members, right? Yeah, so in December, January, we did a crowdfunder and raised $50,000 from our community around the world, and was greatly helped by OuiShare. They were like, promoting and donating, and so we're like super grateful. This was the most that we've ever raised in a crowdfunding campaign by twice, by 2x, and it was really hard, and we would not have made it without OuiShare.
I think love is necessary to start an organization. Like OuiShare wouldn't have started without love, without passion. But I also think that at some point it's important to show the traditional economy that we are not only an organization that is based on love, but also on the ability to generate revenues and pay the people who are really involved in the organization. Otherwise, we are not taken seriously. That's what I realized over the last year. People think, oh yeah, you guys, you don't have any employee, you don't pay anyone, so it's not sustainable. And in a way, it's true. I mean, at some point, if you want to keep the talents in your organizations, to speak with management terms, you need to reward them and also to provide them with a sustainable income. So we moved from a very idealistic way of what OuiShare could be to maybe a more grown-up vision of how you grow an organization that can still be guided by love, but with also the ability to pay people the way normal companies would pay them. And I think it's really important for social innovation to reward people financially almost the same amount traditional companies would do. Because when we will be at that point, then that means we will have succeeded.
Yeah, and I just also add that we have some startups that have supported us as well, like Near Me and Home Exchange. Lisa Gansky has been a huge, supporter from almost at the beginning. Rachel Botsman as well. So I'm really thankful for the community.
I would argue that philanthropy and crowdfunding is love, right? It's powering something by love. But when you get into some of the kinds of funding streams that a lot of so OuiShare is sort of like a federation. It's a meta organization for the collaborative world, and so is Shareable, more on the media information side of things. So, I'm curious about the sort of tension between neutrality and also, of course, we want to be taken seriously. Of course, we want to be sustainable, and we want people to be rewarded for doing all this amazing work. So, there's some tensions there. I'm curious about how you feel about them.
We discuss a lot about this tension. I think that this tension changes over time. You might not interact with a company at some point in your organization the way you will do maybe 2 years later or 3 years later. I think it's really, really, really important to empower the small entrepreneurs, the ones who are starting. I also think that it's really important to get traditional companies and policymakers on board so that they understand the shift that is happening. And I also love companies in the sharing economy that have like really big valuation, because they show that this economy is also part of the traditional economy in a way. And this, thanks to Airbnb, thanks to BlaBlaCar, thanks to those companies, we are taken seriously also. And the media is taking us seriously because they're like, oh yeah, there is big money involved, so that means it's serious.
Yeah, and for us, it can be a delicate balance, but in the end, if you have to be transparent, and if you aren't hosting a kind of dialogue that's balanced, no one will take you seriously anyway, and you'll lose the trust of your community members. So I mean, I think it's really important to host a balanced conversation and be very transparent about your funding and who your sponsors are. But it's also a kind of dance as well.
I love dance. So you said you started in 2009. It is now 2014. That means we are celebrating your 5th birthday, Shareable. Woo! Would everyone like to join me in singing happy birthday to Shareable? Ready? 1, 2, 3. To you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Yeah.
It's
speechless.
Benjamin's idea, so you should hug him twice.
Thank you so much. It
looks good, huh?
Big
There's
love,
a very
people.
tasty cake up here.
We'll share it. How about that?
Woo!
Thank you.
Oh, yes, thank you. I think we're going to lunch now.